Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. We continue. So if you look into your MAF201, so we have looked into the first part, the first topic, that is your contract costing. Next, we move into process costing. So what is process costing, or what are you going to cover under the process costing, or what's the relationship about the process costing with the whole spectrum of the MAF that you are doing, right? So if you are looking at the costing method just now, so once you have finished with your specific order costing, you have looked into your job costing, batch costing, and contract costing, you move into your continuous operation costing. So under the continuous operation costing, you look into process costing. So what is basically continuous operation costing? Whereby the production undergoes a continuous or series of processes. So it undergoes a series of processes. What type of product do you think that undergo this kind of continuous operation costing? So just Google. Let's take, for example, if you have a production of, for example, if for example you are doing a production of ice cream, okay, if you are doing a production of ice cream, just name it, any brand. So you have to, I'm not it's just to give you example. If let's say you are producing ice cream, any type of ice cream, for example, okay, regardless of what type of ice cream that you want. For example, if this one Walls ice cream, so you can have identical output. You will have identical output. If let's say you buy this particular 3-in-1, let's say you buy this 3-in-1 ice cream. So regardless whether you buy it in Segamat, whether you buy it in KL, you buy it in Perlis, in Kedah, you will have the same packaging, you will have the same taste, you will have, maybe the price is slightly different, but the products are identical. Okay, the quantity is the same, the taste is the same, the texture, the packaging, all are the same. So if you have this kind of output, okay, if you have this kind of output, then you will have, that means the product has undergo a series of processes. So in that case, to determine the cost, you will use the process costing. So just name in any product. You can have identical product, any product that are identical, you can buy it, and then you will have this identical product or similar product. They are homogeneous, that means they are the same, very similar. So if that and then it goes from one process to another, then that is, you will go into, we look at that, we will go into the costing method that you will apply is process costing. So I'm not going to go into more detail, but just to give you an overview what we are going to do throughout this semester. So how to calculate the cost, or how to determine the cost if your product undergo this type of process. So we will go into more detail on, again, we look into the elements of cost. You will have the material, you will have the labor, overhead, and so on, right? So after you have finished with your process costing, then we will go into the marginal and absorption costing. We will look into this one. Is you look into how you want to after you have determined all the elements of cost, you have to determine the costing methods. Then we go into the marginal and absorption costing. Now you look into your profit statement. So the bottom line, when you do a business, you want to get a profit. So you want to determine whether you are making profit or you are generating losses. So that will be covered under your marginal and absorption costing. Next, you will look into your CVP analysis. So in your CVP analysis, you look into the relationship between your cost, volume, and profit. So it's more on the management side now. So that's why under your MAF201 is called the cost and management accounting. So you will go a little bit, you will look into a little bit about the management accounting side now. So what is management accounting? So if you look here, management accounting or managerial accounting is a branch of accounting that is concerned with the identification, measurement, analysis, and interpretation of accounting information so that it can be used to help managers make informed operational decisions. So that means now, based on the information that you have provided, so you look into, you have conducted all the calculation about the identify what are the material costs, the labor costs, and so on. You have done some measurement, you interpret the information so that you can, based on that information, that will be presented to the managers, and that information will be used by the managers to help them or to assist these managers to make informed decision, so that when they make that decision, that decision is based on the information provided. Okay, so that is basically management accounting or managerial accounting. Okay, here again, this one, right? So the next topic that you do is you look into the cost, volume, and profit. You look at the relationship, what happens to your cost. So in this case, you look into your cost. You will have your variable cost, you have your fixed cost. You remember when you did your MAF201, you just know cost can be divided into various ways. One of the way is you can split your cost according to behavior. So how does the cost behave? Fixed cost, variable cost. You also come across the word step cost. Okay, and mixed cost. Okay, so here under CVP analysis, is a way to find out how changes in variable and fixed cost affects your profit. So now you look into the relationship between your cost, your volume. The volume is the quantity, and what's the effect on the profit. If let's say you now move into planning, into management, if let's say if I want to have a profit of 100,000, how many units of output that I need to produce, how many units of output that I need to sell. So those are the things that you will learn under the CVP analysis. Okay, and then the next topic that you move into is you want to plan ahead. Okay, you want to plan ahead, that goes into budgeting. Okay, when you go into, so basically, when you talk about management accounting, you look into the planning, decision making, and control. Okay, these are basic things that you do under management accounting. So you look into the planning first. That is, you want to budget. For example, you budget for the past or for the current or for the future. So normally you budget something for the future. So you look into what happens. So you go into planning. Okay, so the next topic that we will have is the budgeting. So if you see after your CVP analysis, then you go into budgeting. That's basically the last part, the last topic under MAF201. You look into budget. Budget is basically you plan ahead. How much is the how many if you, let's say you want to know how much is the sales that we're going to make, how much is the sales that you're going to make in the future. So that will lead to that relates to your production, how many units that we need to produce. Then you go into the production, you look into the detail of the production, how many units that we need to produce, and then how much is the cost. Then you go into the elements of cost, you go backwards from the sales, then you move into how many units that you need to produce. Then from that production, you go into detail how much is the cost of your material, what about the labor, what about the overhead. So that goes under your budgeting. So as a recap, for your MAF201 is basically a continuation of the costing technique just now, that you look into the contract costing, still under specific order costing, and then you go into the continuous operation costing, whereby you look into your process costing. That next you look into the statement of your income statement or statement of profit or loss. Then you look into the two techniques that are being used to present your income statement. One is called the marginal costing technique or marginal costing approach, and the other one is your absorption costing technique or absorption costing approach. Then you go into your next, you look into your CVP analysis. That goes into the management side, that you look into your the relationship between your cost, volume, and profit. You want to make decision, for example, how many units that you want. If let's say you want to have a certain amount of profit, how many units that you need to sell, how much is the quantity that we will break even. Break even means a point whereby you are not making any profit and you are not making any losses. You are break even. So you want to know, you want to determine at what quantity will we break even and what is the value of our break even, right? So you look into that all those things you learn under your CVP analysis. Then you move into the planning side. In the planning side, you look into if you want to plan ahead, you want to budget, you budget for the future. So you want to know how much that we need to sell for, let's say, for next year. So that is under the budgeting. You will learn that under the budgeting. So hopefully you have a better overview and a better view on, or better perspective on what you have done under MAF 151 and what you are going to do throughout this semester. Okay, what you are going to do throughout this semester, that will be under your MAF 201. Right, so 5 topics will be covered. You will have contract costing, process costing, MCAC, CVP, and budgeting. And then if you want to know further, just a little bit, I just explain a little bit about what you're going to do under MAF 251. So this one is under your MAF 251. So it goes into the control side. Okay, when you budget, when you have prepare your budget, then you need to know whether you have achieved that or not. So that will be under your standard costing. It's basically you look at the difference between your unit cost. Okay, you look into the difference between how much is the actual, how much is that you have set or you have budgeted. So the difference is you look at, that means that comes in the control side. Okay, so that will be under the standard costing. Then you look into the limiting factor, and then that goes into the decision making now. So you want to make decision, but the decision making that you are making will be that is called as the short term decision making. So you want to, for example, make decision. We have a limiting factor. These are the factors that limit our production. So should we produce product A or should we produce product B, for example? So because we have limited resources, so you want to make decision. Okay, and then you look into make or buy. Should I produce that or should I just purchase that component and then make my product, for example? So that is again decision making, make or buy. And then whether you want to accept or reject a special order, for example, you receive a special order from your customer, should you accept that particular order or should you reject, for example? So that is still under your decision making, but that one is a short term decision making. Normally we say short term is within a year, and then again drop or add a certain product. And then you look into the pricing strategy now. Well, how are you going to price your product? Okay, so and then you look into some modern business environment. So that is basically the whole spectrum of MAF that you are doing for the diploma. If you continue with your degree, you will also have about 3 or 4 MAF at degree level. Again, for example, then you go into more on the management side. For example, now you are making decision, but the decision, for example, will be a short-term decision like investment appraisal. That will be a long-term decision making. So bear in mind, the things that you are doing here is the foundation. Okay, the foundation that you are doing, make sure you have a very well equipped knowledge with regard to your management or your cost and management accounting knowledge, right? So because you cannot, this one is the foundation of what you're going to do in the future. So hopefully you have a better understanding. I'm not going to go into detail about your MAF 251, but what I want you to have is the whole spectrum. You have the whole overview or the helicopter view of what you have done, you're going to do this semester, and what you're going to do in the following semester. So the whole spectrum of MAF. So hopefully you have a better view, a better understanding, so that you will have a good grasp of this, the knowledge of what we're going to do in this semester. So hopefully with that, okay, with the this one, you have a better understanding of our MAF 201, right? So with that, I thank you.